Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 54 of the John Riley Project. It is, what's today's date? The June 5th, I think, right?
June 5th.
Yeah, Wednesday, June 5th. And I am so pleased to have as my guest today, Rory Herrman. Rory, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, Rory, I was so excited when you agreed to come on the podcast. You know, you're a Poway guy. You're an extraordinary athlete. You've got a great story to tell. And, you know, my podcast is all about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And you're a guy that's living the dream, you know, and I really want to just introduce the audience to you. And I have like a little bit of a bio here, so I'm just going to read from this, just so everyone here in listening or watching can get to know Rory. A 20-year-old ice hockey star from Poway, California, a member of the 17 and under U.S. National Team, has spent 2+ seasons with the Green Bay Gamblers in the United States Hockey League, which is the top amateur league in the United States, where over the course of his time there, 12 goals, 15 assists, had a +11 ratio while he was on the ice. He's a forward, a scorer, finished up the season with the Fargo Force and is a D1 commit to Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, or RPI, in Troy, New York, where he'll be for this fall. So you'll be going to college this fall, playing D1 hockey in the northeastern United States. I mean, you're just right on track, living the dream as a hockey player, right?
Definitely, man. I've been very fortunate here to be a Powegian. Born and raised, and having a good future here in hockey and really enjoying the process.
Nice. So, you know, we've talked a lot about athletes that have come out of Poway. You know, there's been an extraordinary number of young male and female athletes that have gone on to success in a lot of sports: basketball, football, baseball, golf, tennis. I think you might be the first significant hockey player to come out of Poway. We're going to add you to that long list of great athletes that have come out of the city. So maybe you could tell me a little bit about how someone from Poway gets involved in hockey. You know, usually Poway and hockey don't typically go together.
Well, starting hockey here in Poway was not my first option. You know, I played a lot of sports when I was a kid. I played t-ball here, soccer, basketball, flag football, you know, golf, a lot of sports. Mm-hmm. My family, you know, my dad, huge sports fan. He played rugby for 20 years, played varsity football at Mission Bay, you know, San Diego, local guy, born and raised. Good athlete. My mom from England, of all places. Mm-hmm. Had 3 brothers, all soccer players, and, you know, a lot of her family eventually migrated here to San Diego, and that's how my parents met. And, you know, we have a pretty big history in sports, I guess, in our family, an athletic background, but none of us played hockey. So starting hockey in San Diego, it all started when I went to the San Diego Gulls game when I was about 5 years old.
Nice.
And, you know, I'd been to Padres games. I'd been to Chargers games. You know, I think they had the San Diego Sockers at the time, too. So all those sports games were fun, but, I mean, it was just one hockey game I went to. And after just watching the pace of the play and how aggressive the sport was, I knew I had to play hockey.
Right on.
It was just like love at first sight, pretty much.
Yeah.
So we continued to go to those games, and, you know, my dad kind of saw the passion I had, and my mom, and we all loved going to the games, like a family atmosphere, you know. It was just great games. So eventually looked at my dad and said, you know, I want to play hockey. And right away he was like, okay. You know, just like with all the other sports I'd kind of been thrown into, I told my dad, you know, this is a sport I'd like to try, and totally supported me, and both parents. And right then we went over, played against sports, picked up the gear.
That's like used gear right there,
yeah,
typically.
Used gear. You know, it's we weren't really too familiar with the game of hockey, so there's not many hockey places here. And I mean, to be honest, I think Play It Again was the only place that really had athletic hockey gear. and the majority of it was used gear. So we went in there, picked up all the materials we needed, and started playing roller hockey first over at a rink that was located in Poway on Community. Mm-hmm. The rink's not there anymore.
It's up in the business park, right?
Yeah. It was there for my first year, but that was the first rink I started playing hockey on, and it was all roller hockey at the time. So started playing, kept going, just loved it. And like I said, that rink kind of got transitioned into an indoor soccer field. So from there, from starting skating roller hockey in Poway, we traveled up to Escondido and played roller hockey in Kit Carson, and played about 3 years there.
And that's, I've been to the one at Kit Carson. I mean, that actually, the whole park's cool. They got a skate park there, and then is it one or two hockey arenas?
They have 2 full ice hockey arenas there with sport court instead of concrete. So it's a really nice setup.
That's kind of like a smooth plastic, right?
Yeah, it's a smooth plastic, almost what you'd see on kind of like one of those basketball courts that aren't concrete. They're like just like a sporting plastic material.
Yeah.
That I'd say the majority of roller hockey is played on, because the way the wheels grip, it's just more beneficial than
and it's
concrete.
Smooth, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's perfect for skating.
Yep, no bumps or anything on that thing.
Right on.
So I played there for 3 years, and it was all strict roller hockey, and continue to go to the Gulls games, every weekend with my mom, dad,
I just want to talk
sister.
about the Gulls for a second, because it is a great family environment.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to my first Gulls game last year. Friends of mine invited, my son Trevor and I, we went with Jeff and DJ Ackley, some of the Poway folks here. And I was amazed at how into it the fans of the Gulls are. I mean, half the people were wearing Gulls gear. Mm-hmm. You could tell a lot of them were season ticket holders, and it was, mom and dad and 2 kids, and total family environment. And you're like up close against the glass. You really feel that action. Yeah. It was a great experience. So I can understand you as a young kid going there and really getting hooked.
Yeah.
I get it.
Watching live hockey is like no other sporting experience. The game's so fast, but we had season tickets that were right on the glass, and they were right next to the visitors' bench. So, the visitors, they would come off the ice, and we were giving it to them, banging on the glass. Yeah, my dad was freaking banging on the glass. My mom, we were all screaming. Everybody was having a good time. My sister was having a good time. So, yeah, it's easy to get into a sport when it's like right there. Uh-huh. We were there, and I just loved it.
Now, when you're behind the visitors' bench, do you ever hear the players talking amongst themselves?
Yeah, you could hear pretty much,
or the coaches.
It's tough to hear between the glass, because it's not like they're screaming at each other. It's it's pretty normal tone on the bench, but you can pick apart some things. You can look into their bench and see certain body language of players, certain tactics that they'd use. And, it was all stuff when I was a kid, I was just looking at, like, mesmerized, like, what are they doing over there? What are they doing?
Yeah. And that's awesome.
Remember, pucks would get thrown into the bench, or sticks would break, and the trainers from the other team would always toss the pucks and sticks over to me. And,
nice.
Started collecting all the pucks from different teams coming into town.
Cool.
It was good. Really enjoyed it.
So you're playing hockey. How old were you when you were playing up at Kit Carson at this time?
I played, I started when I was about 5 years old. I think I played in Kit Carson up until I was 8 or 9.
Okay.
And, after playing 3 years of roller, and watching the Gulls, I was like, I think it was about 9 years old when I was like, Dad, I really want to play ice hockey. I really want to get into ice hockey, just like the Gulls players out there. Same thing happened, right over to play against sports again. Picked up the needed ice materials, a little bit different than the roller hockey gear, but, the skates, obviously.
But even like the pads and the gloves are a little bit different.
Yeah, the gloves are the same, but in roller hockey, it's a little bit less protection because there's no contact.
Okay.
Plus, you're not going at like ice hockey is more stop and start. Roller hockey, you're just smooth riding. You're rolling around out there having a good time. Ice is a little bit more intense of a game, so the butt pads are a little bit different, like the stuff that will go around your waist and stuff. The shoulder pads. I think we got some new better elbow pads.
Yeah.
Helmet and gloves and stick were pretty normal. Same thing.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then the skates, we had to get a new pair of ice skates from Play It Again. So yeah, we got all the gear and went right over to SDIA, San Diego Ice Arena in Mira Mesa, and just jumped on, got into it.
My kids learned to ice skate there, and I remember going there when they were little, and they had these like a walker, that a senior citizen would use. But that's how they taught them how to skate.
Yeah, no, it's a simple the thing with ice skating, it's all about balance. So you don't want to go out there and just be falling all over the place. So, yeah, I remember skating for the first couple of times. I didn't have to use one of those, thank God.
Yeah, because you were an accomplished roller skater, right?
Yeah, it wasn't too different than roller hockey. I think the only thing that gave me a challenge was stopping. And it's just like in roller hockey, the stopping was so different than ice hockey that if you tried to translate stopping how you would in roller hockey to ice hockey, it just wouldn't work.
Right.
So, my first year of ice hockey, it was all stopping. I had the shooting down, I had the stick handling down. Skating wasn't a problem. It was just, I remember getting off the ice going like 100 miles per hour, and I couldn't stop. And the coach was like, "Oh my gosh, is he just gonna run to the boards here?" And it was so funny. People thought they were gonna lose toes on the bench. I was like, "Oh God." So after a year, I eventually learned to stop, and helped a lot.
I'm going to share my goofy experience. When I was young, I used to go to the roller skate arena. Okay, that was a thing like back in the late 70s. And then I remember we went to try ice skating, and I had the same problem. I couldn't stop. At least on the roller skates back in the day, they had like a little rubber thing that you could lean forward.
Yeah.
But in ice skating, there wasn't. And so they said, well, you could use like a figure skater's ice skating because they had like the little notches on the front of the blade. And so I did that, and that helped me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I always kind of felt weird. Like I should be using hockey skates, you know?
Yeah, no.
But stopping is really a technique more so than a device on your skate.
Exactly, yeah. So after getting into ice hockey, the transition, like I said, wasn't too difficult. And coaches saw that, and they liked the skill I had and what I'd gained from my roller hockey. And, only after a year of playing, I think, actually only about half a year of going to the Learn to Skates there at SDIA, coach came up to me and was like, "Hey, you should play on our Might Be travel hockey team."
Nice.
I was like, okay. So, jumped on that team, was fortunate enough that the coach was actually an ex-Gulls player and coach.
Right on.
Martin Sanamore. And so, yeah, he was my first hockey coach.
Now, was he one of the players that you were watching when you were 5 years old at the sports arena?
He had stopped playing like right as I began watching. But his first taste of coaching was one of the first seasons that I had been watching the Gulls. So he was behind the bench when we were going to the games.
Cool.
So yeah.
So now he's your coach. That must have been a thrill.
First coach was a pro level hockey coach, and I was lucky. His son MJ was the same age as me, and we were on the same team. So he was really into it, and he had a big influence on my hockey career just right out of the gate. So I enjoyed playing my first season of Might Be for Coach Martin Sanamore.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great.
And that was when you were 8 years old?
I think Mites is around 9 or 10 years old. The levels of hockey are pretty different than most sports. So it's similar though. Like they got 10U and 12, under 12 and under 14, I think it is. So I would like to say Mites was 10U.
Okay.
So about 9 years old at the time. I might have been 10 actually. So we played that there, and that was pretty much my first experience of being on like a legit ice hockey team. And we would just play tournaments. So we would travel up to Anaheim and LA and play Labor Day tournaments, Thanksgiving, Christmas tournaments. All the holidays usually had a tournament. Some of the tournaments were in Phoenix. I think we had a couple that year that were in Phoenix, and those were fun. Drive over with the family.
Yeah.
Get to stay in the hotels, and kids were playing mini sticks all in the hallways, hotels. We had kids running around all the time. The hotels hated us, man. It was so funny. It was so much fun. And
those are great memories.
Oh, great memories in the hotels, at a young age.
But yeah, you could probably play hockey in the hallway of a hotel.
Yeah, we had these mini hockey sticks, and they were plastic, and mini nets that were only about 3x3. And you'd get on your knees and on the carpet and play like 2v2 and have teams, and you're like throwing bodies into each other on like the hotel walls.
So there's like people like in the room there. You're
there's
banging into the wall.
Complaints all the time for that. But no, the tournaments were fun. Is big part of the hockey growing up here is those first couple of years. We had so much fun on those tournaments, and starting with roller hockey, I had so much fun playing. It really, the passion itself grew purely from the enjoyment I was getting out of the sport. And so from my B hockey, we finished that year and moved to Squirt A the next year. And actually, Martin was our assistant coach that year. It was at STIA for the Oilers. And that year, we had gone to Quebec. So we played our first tournament in Canada.
Geez, you're already traveling internationally, and you're like 10 or 11 years old?
That was our first year of Squirts.
Oh, right on, man.
The Musqueary tournament. It's a really famous tournament, actually. There's a couple tournaments up in Quebec that are very famous, and I actually was able to play in both of them. So that year was the Squirt A Musqueary tournament in Quebec was the big thing. And then after my first year of Squirts for the Oilers, I had moved to Escondido to play for the San Diego Junior Gulls Squirt A team. And at the time, there was a lot of young players in San Diego that, were interested in moving up to the Gulls because they had a little bit better of a travel program at the time. And I was one of those players, and after moving and getting that experience, it just kind of propelled my career because I was at a new rink. Kids were a little bit more into the hockey there, and I played my second year of Squirts for them. And then after Squirts, I played my first year of Pee Wee hockey, Pee Wee A, and this was probably like the start of like my realization that hockey is a pretty serious sport. It was like our first year of contact hockey. And like I said, I'd moved up to the San Diego Junior Gulls, and some of the good kids from my Squirt team had moved up to the Pee Wee A level then, and at SDIA. So we created like a little bit of a rivalry, like cross-freeway rivalry.
Nice.
So between the Gulls and the San Diego Ice Arena Oilers.
So like Kings and Ducks, right?
Like Kings and Ducks, yeah. This is heated hockey that year, and we played 8 times in the regular season, split four games each, and then the way the playoffs work in California hockey is they have SCAHA, which stands for Southern California Amateur Hockey Association. Mm-hmm. So they take, I think, the top 4 teams from the Southern California, and then the top 4 teams from the Northern California, and then they do CAHA, which is just California Amateur Hockey Association. Right. Pretty much, this is the state championship. Yeah. So we had made it out of SCAHA along with the Oilers.
So you're the Gulls.
We're the Junior Gulls, yeah.
Okay, and then the Oilers are from
SDIA.
SDIA, okay.
So yeah, the Junior Gulls and the Oilers, San Diego Ice Arena Oilers, we both made it out of Southern California, and we were the dominant teams, and I think we both knew that we were going to be the dominant teams in the whole state championship tournament, and they had us placed in the first round robin game against each other. And I just remember the Oilers beating us in like pretty good fashion. I think it was like 8-3 or 8-2 or something.
That was a
We were
whooping.
like, yeah, we got whooped first game. We're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So then we ended up winning out round robin, and they won out too and made playoffs and won our semifinal. They won their semifinal and met in the championship for the first time being in the state championship. And,
Oh, right on.
and we've beat them. It was like 5-3. Close game. It was a really good game, 5-3 or something. And we won our first state championship that year. So that was a really enjoyable year.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially not only beating your rival in the final after losing in the round robin,
Yeah.
but then it's like San Diego, so they're your rival, but they're your friends, right?
Oh,
And
yeah,
you know
yeah.
them, and you've got relationships.
It was heated at the time, and I'm going to be honest with you, it stayed heated for a couple years after. They wanted to win that game just as much as we did.
And so, how old were you again at this point?
I think we were about 12
Yeah.
at that point.
But see, isn't that cool? I mean, these are like wonderful lifetime experiences. You're never going to forget that.
Oh, no.
And you need to just hold on to that memory and share the story, because that's great stuff right there.
Yeah, no, it was fun, man. That's when the hockey got serious, and I could kind of tell, and based on that rivalry, it kind of gave you a little bit of juice as a player, something it's not. You're playing for something at that point, and you're playing to beat that team, and you're playing for the state championship.
Yeah.
So it was a good year,
That's
good
huge.
year.
Where was the tournament held? Do you remember?
It's San Jose.
Okay, in the Shark Tank.
It was the Shark Tank was across. It was at the Sharks practice arena.
Okay.
So, it was just down the road from the Shark Tank, the SAP Center.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's a beautiful rink. They got 3 sheets of ice at the practice facility up there in San Jose.
Wow.
Yeah. And, we had a lot of tournaments up there throughout the years and a lot of select camps and, just a beautiful rink.
Nice. Well, I know the people in San Jose love their Sharks, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're
Oh, yeah.
hardcore.
They got a great team up there right now, so they have every right to. But then after my first year of Pee-wees, we went on to my second year of Pee-wees. We played Pee-wee AA for the junior Gulls. And I think similar year, pretty good hockey. Just honed my skills and worked on a lot of things as a player and a person. Had great teammates that year. And then we ended up losing in the state championship that year. So I was a little bit bummed about that.
They were probably gunning for you, though, weren't they?
That year we lost to the LA Junior Kings team because the Oilers didn't have a AA team. So the way the hockey system works is you got your mites through midgets is what there's like names, 10U through I think 18U hockey. But there's levels of hockey through each age group. So there's single A, then there's double A, and then there's triple A. So we didn't have any AAA hockey in San Diego when I was playing here. I think the highest level was AA, and that year we had a AA team at the junior Gulls at the Pee-wee level, and that's the team I was on. So it was a good year. And then after my second year of Pee-wees, we moved on to Bantam AA for the junior Gulls, and this was a really good year because we had a coach that just had played in the NHL and
Wow.
ex-NHL player, and ex-Division I ice hockey player for the University of Notre Dame.
Okay, that's big time.
Yeah, 4 years for the Fighting Irish, and he played for that National Development Program team, and he also played in Green Bay for the
right on.
Gamblers,
Nice.
funny enough. So
Yeah.
it's kind of weird how our paths crossed at such a young age for me, and I was able to, learn a lot from him, and he was a great coach because he taught me a lot, outside of practice. We would do private lessons. So it was a good opportunity to have like a skills coach and a skating coach. Players in the NHL and Division I hockey and even high-level junior are so fast and so skilled that having him as a mentor and having him teach me, what I was pretty much should have should expect in the future of high level hockey. He had the drills and the practice materials that he could give our team and our players, to kind of host like first level pro level practices, considering he had that experience in his playing career. So yeah, Noah Babin.
I mean, that is so great to have a coach at a high level that when you're young, because not only can they teach you the physical skills you need to be successful, but they probably are coaching you up mentally and teaching you how to win.
Yeah.
You
go through a lot of things in a hockey career, and especially mentally, because it's a physical sport. So kids can get thrusted out of it because of the physical nature of the sport. But, he was a good coach. He always pushed you to be your very best.
Right on.
So after that was when I was going to school at St. Michael's. So St. Michael's, I went to school here in Poway, was kindergarten through 8th grade, and the majority of my youth hockey that I played up until Bantam AA, I was at St. Michael's. So I didn't have to commute or anything. It was just going up to the rink in Escondido and back. But after 8th grade and after my first year of Bantam AA hockey, I had to make the move to LA. So freshman year of high school, I was going to Poway and playing hockey for the Bantam AAA team in LA, the LA Junior Kings. So, yeah.
So now this is interesting. So if you're playing for a team up in LA and you're going to school in Poway, I mean, how did that work?
So pretty much right out of the gate, we kind of figured this was going to happen as a family. San Diego hockey was good, but it didn't have that AAA high caliber level that I had kind of gotten to. And we knew that going up to LA was going to be in question for the next season. And being that it was my freshman year of high school, we were like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And all my buddies from St. Michael's were going to their next schools, St. Augustine's, the all-boys school. And then OLP was the all-girls school, and then a lot of them went to Cathedral Catholic.
Right.
So I think 95% of all my friends went there, and I was like, oh, God. Like, all my buddies are going here, and I'm pretty much, I can't go to those schools, so they're too far, and if I'm going to be commuting to LA, it's just not going to be something I can do.
Right.
So I went to Poway High School here, and, with us having to travel up to LA, I had to talk to Mr. Garrett, Principal Ron Garrett there at Poway High School.
Love Ron Garrett.
Yeah.
The double fist pump Ron Garrett, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote him a nice letter and kind of said what the situation in my hockey career was and how I needed to go to Poway High School in order to propel my career, and us driving up to LA and back wasn't, it was something that we had to do, and he met with me or my family and myself and was like, we can totally work with you here, go to school.
So awesome.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely amazing.
I mean, you could imagine it being the opposite, where a principal would say, hey man, we run a tight ship here, you can't get away with this.
Yeah.
But instead he was accommodating and understood your situation, was willing to be flexible. You love seeing that from not just teachers, but from principals. That's great.
Believe me, I was a little bit surprised, but at the same time, he totally understood what we needed to do, and we kind of showed him what the schedule was going to be like that year playing for the Junior Kings. I think we had like 8 tournaments out of state. So I was like, hey, I'm going to miss a lot of school this year.
Yeah.
He's like, as long as you work hard and you work with your teachers, we'll take care of you here. I'll never forget that. It was a real good guy move from him, and it was tough though. Going to high school in Poway and playing hockey in LA is it's not easy. We were driving up to Lakewood, so just by Long Beach.
Yeah.
And we were having to drive up there Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sundays, along with the tournament schedules that were at least once or twice a month.
And those were somewhere beyond LA.
Yeah, I think we had 2 tournaments in Canada that year, a bunch in Chicago, one in Phoenix, some games in San Jose. I think we had to fly up to San Jose a couple times just to play just a couple games in San Jose.
Yeah.
Against the Junior Sharks team. But yeah, I remember, first day of school and, last day of school, between that time period, I'd missed probably 60 days. And
wow. That's like 3 months, right? Because you figure there's about roughly 20 school days in a month, right?
Yeah.
So that's like 3 months of school out of how many? 6, 9, like 9 to 10 months.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
It was tough. I had to grind. I really kind of figured it out. I knew that I could get away with taking my history and my English class and my Spanish class, in the car and writing all the homework for that or doing essays. But it was, the things I struggled with the most were the math and the science classes. You'd be in math class one day and, you learn one part of an equation and then miss like a Tuesday class or miss like a Wednesday class. And next thing you know, you're coming in the next day, after missing classes and seeing the equation on the board and it's longer, there's letters thrown in and you're like, what the where did this come from?
Well, like you said, with history or English, you can read on your own time. You can take advantage of certain exercises on your own, but sometimes math, man, that's like a foreign language.
Math was tough, but my teacher worked with me quite a bit. His name was Mr. Crane, and I remember at the time playing for the Junior Kings and doing this for schooling. I would go in at like 6:30, an hour before school. Right, I'd just go right to his classroom and I'd be like, okay, what did I miss? Like, what do I need to know here for the test? And he'd work with me on the board, almost like one-on-one. And, he'd offered that as a teacher to everybody, but I totally took full advantage of it and was there almost every day at 6 a.m. or 6:30, just sitting outside his classroom waiting for him so I could keep up with my math. And I mean, big
that's
thanks
awesome.
to him.
Okay, that's awesome on many levels. Number one, you got a teacher that's making himself available to work with students an hour before school starts.
Yeah.
So he's providing that support and that assistance. Number two, he's made that available to everybody, but most people don't take advantage.
Yeah, I mean, most people didn't need to because they were in the classroom, but it's like... Some kids did miss class, so...
But still, there's kids that could have used, bump a C up to a B to an A, get a little help. But you were focused on your goal.
Yeah.
You were focused on playing hockey and getting through school with good grades, and you just had to figure out a way.
Yeah.
And whatever it took, you did it.
Yeah, I mean, math... Like I said, math and sciences were the two bugaboos for me when it came to playing travel hockey and having to maintain good grades. So, I mean, the math, I had to go in quite a bit just to get that help, and I just can't thank Mr. Crane enough for helping me. And
right on.
It says a lot about Poway High School and the teachers that they have there, because I mean, it was not only math I was having to do. Was I think freshman year I was doing biology, and I was having to stay after school for biology.
Right.
And I mean, biology, a lot of it was labs, you know, and you'd be in a group of 4 doing a lab in the classroom. And if you missed that, big portion of your grade was based on how you did in those labs. Mm-hmm. So I'd have to go into class, for or after class, after the school day was over, to Mr. Crispill's class and, grind out labs one-on-one with him. And I was like, there was big labs that he had to help me with. And
were you like dissecting frogs and the whole thing?
God, I can't remember what we did. A lot of the stuff we did was with the microscope that year.
Yeah.
One of those, looking at certain atoms. I remember we had to bring pond water in one time and look at like the certain life in the pond water and like petri dish stuff. So
yeah, right on.
It was fun. And I mean, I remember taking my first semester's final. I'd missed the first semester's final, so I wasn't in class for the final. And I mean, that's like a big thing for most students. You miss the final.
Well, yeah. So what did you do?
So I talked to him. I told him, I was like, hey, I'm not going to be here for the final. And he was like, we understand your situation. And as the next week came around and I took the final after class with him. I mean, I was in his classroom for like 2 hours just grinding out the final. I mean, he stayed there the whole time, didn't really speak too much on it. And
So awesome.
oh, it was great. It was absolutely amazing.
And again, tip of the hat to the teachers there, man. They did a really good job for you.
Oh, no, he helped me out a lot.
Oh, look who's known as visiting again.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, I mean, math and biology that year were tough, but the teachers, they helped me quite a bit. And I remember my last semester, I was sitting on a C in biology, and I had missed a big portion of school during my last semester because we had a lot of big tournaments. And I remember looking through my progress report on the computer, and I had to print that out. And I highlighted all the missing assignments I had, and I took them to Mr. Crispiels. I said, "Okay, do you have?" I had a few of the the forms and folders and stuff, but the majority of them that I weren't there or I wasn't there for, I was like, "Do you have these pieces of paper? Do you have these projects?" And he gave me all the projects, and I was like, "Okay." He's like, if you turn all these into me, I can grade them for you and it'll bring your grade up. So I remember sitting for like a week straight, just grinding out 20 assignments of biology.
Oh my God.
And I walked into the final with a C, handed them all into him, and he gave me an A on all of them. And I remember it boosted my grade up to like, I think it was like a 95 or something, and it was enough for me to take the final and maintain my A. And
right on.
So I ended up getting an A in biology that semester, and I was really happy that Mr. Crispiels worked with me.
Right on. Yeah, and again, some teachers can be hard asses about this sort of thing. They could say, "No, you weren't here. You can't make it up."
Yeah, no.
But they were flexible. They worked with you. Yeah, I've got to believe here in Poway, there are other kids that are in situations, not hockey, but maybe some other thing in their life.
Yeah. That
prevents them from being a traditional student. Mm-hmm. And so good for them for being flexible and accommodating.
I mean, it helped me so much. And, like you said, there's probably a lot of kids out there that maybe not sports or a hockey situation per se, but maybe they have to go to work every day, or something like that.
Or maybe they got sick, or it could be anything.
Yeah, it really could. And it says a lot about the teachers at Poway High.
Cool.
But yeah, no, that year was pretty tough. Still, not only the schooling, but just driving up to LA. I mean, it was my first year of doing that drive, and my mom did the majority of the driving. I mean, it was like close to 2 hours there and back. This is like 4 hours of driving, 2 to 3 times a week for my mom, and my dad would, pick up the rest when he wasn't working. But I mean, it was.
And then plus your practice is how long? Like 2 hours?
I mean, we would start.
Maybe 3, right?
I would go and do like a lesson or something with the coach before just to make sure I got the most out of the drive.
Yeah.
But no, I think practices would end around 9. And we'd get home like 11 o'clock, midnight some nights, after getting some food or maybe even hitting traffic from construction or something.
Oh, man.
So we were,
it's okay to do every once in a while. You got to do it 3-4 times a week.
Yeah, we were getting up at like 7 the next morning. I mean, I remember some mornings I'd get up at like 5 and have to finish some homework.
And that's really hard. I mean, think about it. A teenage, boy, you're growing. They always talk about how teenagers need more sleep, and you're getting squeezed on both ends.
Oh no, I grinded through that, but my mom, man, I mean, it's tough. Like driving 2 hours there and back it's not easy, especially if you're the only one driving. You have to stay awake that whole time. It's dark out, Driving up to LA is like it's dangerous drives. Freeways are packed, and it's just a lot of people on the road, and huge kudos to my mom and dad for doing that.
It's gigantic.
It's huge. It's absolutely bizarre that they sacrificed that much and did that for me.
Well, you're fortunate they had the ability to do it, but even if parents don't have the ability, sometimes some parents I mean, it just takes up so much of a parent's time.
It's tough. Like it was.
But that's how much they love you.
Yeah.
And how much they support you.
Believe me, I can't repay my mom enough for what she did and my dad throughout my hockey career. But that's definitely the biggest sacrifice that they made. And I mean, that team alone, though, it was a good team that year. My first year playing AAA hockey, and we had kids on that team that are going to be playing in the NHL. You know, kids that are playing Division I ice hockey now, kids that play in the same junior league that I did, and kids that are playing major junior up in Canada. I mean, we probably, out of that team, I think we had close to 8 or 9 guys that, you know, did really, really, and are doing really, really well in their hockey careers to this day, myself included. So,
wow.
I mean, it was a great experience playing with that caliber of team. And I mean, it was like your first taste at just pure hard practices against kids that were really, really, really good hockey players.
So now this is when it becomes really competitive.
Yeah.
A lot of focus. It's still fun, but it's not playground fun. It's serious stuff. I mean, you get into it in practice with guys, you get scrappy, and you know, tournaments were intense. I remember that year we played a game. There was probably 100 scouts in the rink watching our game. And I was just thinking, like, 14 years old, and all these scouts are here to watch me play. It was very, very cool. Yeah, right on.
It was fun. And, then after that year playing for the LA Junior Kings, I had the opportunity to play prep school hockey in New Hampshire. And the way that worked was we played, when I was on the Junior Kings, we played a tournament back east in the Boston area. And there was a bunch of prep schools, you know, coaches at the teams handing out pamphlets for their schools and you know, their little business cards with their coaching information. And, you know, we'd collected some of those cards, and at the end of our Kings year, we didn't know what we were going to do, whether we were going to go back up to the Kings or whatnot. And we decided to call I think we called 3 of those prep schools, and 2 of them called us back and were like, yo, you guys missed the deadline by months to apply for this school. And we were like...
Well, you're lucky they called you back.
We were like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And then one coach called us back and said, you missed the deadline, but we can make this work.
Cool.
And that was New Hampton School.
So it's just like the Poway teachers. You're finding people that'll work with you.
Yeah, there's good people out there.
Yeah, right on.
And they, you know, I was very fortunate to have the experience I had at Poway, but just based on the schooling alone and how hard it was for my mom driving. And I remember kids at school just looking at me saying, like, where's this kid going, like, every weekend? Like, I couldn't go to any of the football games. I couldn't really have, like, a true school life because of how busy I was. You know, I mean, lunchtimes I was in teachers' classrooms just grinding out homework for the next class. So it was great at Poway. It was just so tough for me, though, as a hockey player. So making this move to prep school seemed like a really good option for my family and I. So the coach had called us, and we'd sent him footage just of, you know, one of the games I'd played during the year, and he got back to us and was like, you guys kind of got to get on the ball here and fill out all this stuff, and we can try and get you in. Mm-hmm. We talked to all the admissions people there, and we were able to get into the school. And that's when, my sophomore year of high school, I attended New Hampton School in New Hampton, New Hampshire. So from Poway to New Hampshire.
Now, New Hampshire, I'm like thinking of it, it's a tall, narrow state, a little bit wider at the bottom and thinner at the top, I think. Is it? And Vermont, I think, is the opposite.
Yeah, well,
Vermont's a little wider at the top and a little narrower at the bottom. So what were you kind of near the Massachusetts border, or were you up near the Canadian border, or where was it?
New Hampton was right in the middle of New Hampshire. So we were about 2.5 hours from Boston.
Okay.
And I'd say we're about we were an hour from Manchester, where the local airport was. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Yeah, pretty close to Massachusetts. A lot of my teammates and a lot of kids at the school were from Boston, from the Massachusetts area.
Okay.
So, I mean, New England itself is all those states up in that northeast corner, and they're all New England fans.
Yeah, right.
But I was going cross map, and first time for me living alone.
Yeah, and you were just a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
Most kids don't live alone until they go away to college.
Yeah.
And you're doing it, at 15, 16 years old?
15. I was 15 at the time, and, parents dropped me off first week of school, came around, and I remember, I was a sophomore, so I didn't come in with the normal freshman class. It was a year beyond them, and I met some of the kids that were at the school the year before and living in the dorm. And I remember my parents stayed for about a week after the school had started just to kind of, check out, make sure I was good, Yeah,
they're leaving their baby, Yeah, I get it.
It was funny, though. I mean, I remember the coach looking at him and be like, come up to me like, Rory, what's your mom still doing here? What's your dad still doing here? Like, tell me to go home. I was like, all right. And then they left me.
What was it for you? It must have been like a combination of excitement and maybe a little bit of anxiety or fear or the unknown,
I think for me at that time, it was all excitement. I didn't really have too much anxiety of leaving home. I figured it was going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
As a hockey player with the aspirations and goals that I have and I had at the time, I knew leaving home wasn't out of question. So moving there was just another stepping stone for my career. And
cool. I
realized it, and I took it like that. And my parents were the same. My parents were sad, leaving me more than I was sad leaving them.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's always that way.
I'm going to spend time at a school where I'm going to be playing hockey, meeting friends, and enjoying that aspect of my life. So it was great. I mean, it's funny though, because the way the prep schools work is, if you're a sophomore, you have to play if you're a freshman, you got to play 3 sports. So they don't have PE classes there, and they're boarding schools, so they have pretty much all the normal sports that they'd have here. I think they had some more winter sports, obviously based on the weather there. But yeah, we had to play 2 sports as a sophomore, and I remember my coach was telling me this, and was like, you should play soccer, and I was like, all right, I'll play soccer. But I mean, I started playing soccer, and I was only like 2 games in. I was like, I don't want to play soccer. I want to, because the other option you had if you were a sophomore and you weren't going to play a sport in the fall is you could I forgot the name of it, but you could be, event management. You could do event management and weightlifting with the hockey guys. Okay. So event management was when you would set up all the other sporting events, or you'd work the camera for the other sporting events.
And for some students, that's like their thing.
Yeah. You had a bunch of hockey players doing like the offsides flags. It was pretty funny, actually.
So was your mom bumming that you weren't playing soccer? Because her whole family were soccer players.
She was bumming. Yeah. She was bumming, but I was like, Mom, like I want to play lacrosse with all the hockey guys. Because at the time, I mean, I didn't know what the hockey guys did. And it was after like a couple weeks of playing soccer that I realized that the hockey players were like not on the team with me. And they're like, what are you doing, man? Like, we all do event management and weightlifting in the fall, and then in the spring we'll play like lacrosse or something. Lacrosse is huge up in that New England area.
Yeah, big time.
Really, I mean, we had a bunch of kids on my hockey team that played lacrosse and went D1. Like, I was like, whoa. Yeah. Like, good players, dual sport athletes. So we did event management in the fall, and one of my funniest stories from doing event management was a couple of my buddies that I'm still really good friends with to this day, Thomas and Peter. There was the playoff soccer game. It was the Powder Keg, which was like the huge school rivalry against Tilton, which was just down the road. So like Poway RB.
Yeah, right on. Okay.
And what we did was we played all the fall sports against them in one day, and then you accumulate a certain amount of points for wins or ties, and the team with the most points takes home like this powdered keg thingy. It's like it looks like just a round wooden keg of some sort.
Okay, but it's like an old-timey trophy kind of thing.
Almost like what you'd expect, like a little thing of gunpowder would be in, shipped from back in the day.
Yeah,
right
right on.
Classic trophy. So my buddy Thomas and my buddy Peter and myself, we came up with the idea that we would all do the videotaping for this women's varsity soccer game, and it was the last event of the day, and both of the women's soccer teams from the schools were really good. So what we did is we'd showed up in like full suits.
Okay, good.
And we decided to do a halftime show.
Oh, brilliant.
So it's a live broadcast, and all the parents from both schools were probably watching this. And we thought of it just as a joke, just to do it. So we were filming the game and commentating the game, and we're hockey guys, so we had no clue what was going on. We were like, she rattles one off the post, using all hockey terms. And we came up with the idea like a week earlier, and we tried it with a field hockey game. And we just remember the athletic director coming up to us, and we're like, oh God, we're in trouble, man. Like, we're in trouble. And he came up to us, he's like, I got like 10 emails from all the parents of how funny you guys were and how you guys did such a good time. Because none of the event managers had done it before. None of them had like come up with the idea to commentate the game.
Yeah, brilliant.
So
that's
we
awesome.
Carried that over to the big game, the big soccer game, and we turned the camera around and did the halftime show. We just grabbed a soccer ball, and like I think I was in the middle. I was holding the soccer ball, and we were pretty much going over like the halftime, like what the first half was like. Then we flipped around to the rest of the game, and I remember, the athletic director came up to us like another week later saying like, you guys like killed it.
Yeah, right
and
on.
We had
that's awesome.
So many funny emails from parents saying like how great the game was just because you guys commentating it. So that was like one of the fun things at prep school. You made a lot of friends, and you did a lot of other things that were outside of hockey. So I mean, it was a great setup there. You lived in the dorms, and I had a Finnish roommate, so it was an international school. We had kids from I think we had another kid from Iran in our room. We had a kid from Japan, a kid from South Korea. Just a bunch of different kids.
Like the United Nations.
Yeah, all in one dorm. No, we had a small dorm on the far end of school, so we were walking. You walked everywhere. You'd walk to the cafeteria, you'd walk to class, and it was nice in the fall. And then winter came around, and you're like, oh my gosh. Like, I gotta walk to the cafeteria in this snowstorm.
It's funny actually for a hockey player to be complaining about the cold.
Oh yeah,
but you're a Poway hockey player.
Yeah. No, I get a lot of grief for that still. It's like, how are you handling the winter? I'm like, oh my gosh. But no, after the fall and all that took place, the hockey season came about, and the best thing about it was our rink, the Merrill Lindsay Ice Arena, had 2 walls. So
wait, 2 walls.
2 walls.
Oh, wait, so it's supposed to be 4, right?
It's supposed to be like a normal 4-wall building with, nice maybe heating in there, but no, 2 walls, and the front end had a tarp, and the back end was just open. And in the back, the rink kind of faced out towards like, these trees and forest, like this trail area. This is pretty interesting. And I mean, I tell you what, the rink was so cold that, practice days you'd have to put like Vaseline, and game days you have to put like Vaseline on your fingers, on your ears, on your nose, on your lips, on your toes, because like you couldn't even hold a hockey stick. It was that cold.
Oh my God. How do you live up there? Much less play hockey. But I guess the Vaseline just gives you that layer of protection.
It just gives you a slight layer. But yeah, it gave us a good advantage though for other teams coming in, because they'd friggin' be freezing their socks off, and we'd be like, hey, we've been playing in this all winter.
Right.
But the best thing about it though is it made for just amazing ice. Like to this day, that ice was the best ice I've ever skated on.
Nice.
So, I mean,
and what makes it such great ice? Ice is ice, right?
The thing is, here in Southern California and other places, you'd think, how the heck do they get ice here? It's not winter. there's no ice. So the way it works is there's like refrigeration systems under the ice, cooling systems that, maintain the ice. We had it was like a small refrigeration system to cool the ice, but the majority of the days in the winter, you didn't even have to use that. It was so cold and brisk outside that it just maintained the ice like just naturally. So the ice itself was just super, super hard to where you could cut into it and, it just, you're not digging into the ice as much because of how hard it is from the weather and how cold it was naturally. But no, it was great. I loved playing in that rink.
So help me out understand this. So there's the Zamboni, right? It's just like that clears the ice and smooths it out, but that's probably more necessary when it's not so cold, right? Because doesn't it take the layer of liquid off the top too?
Yeah, the Zamboni, I just compare the Zamboni there to what the Zamboni here would do. The Zamboni just throws an extra layer of it dispenses water around the rink and takes up all the excess ice. So it's kind of replenishing the ice that you'd cut into and made like a stop on. So it resurfaces it.
So it smooths it out.
It smooths it out, yeah. So, but I mean, in San Diego, it's so hard to resurface ice perfect because you cut into ice and it's not as cold as what it was there. So it leaves more of a indent in the ice,
like a divot on a golf course.
Exactly, yeah. So there, I mean, you indent the ice, but you throw any type of layer on top of that, how cold it was, it'd fix it perfectly. So that's another thing with how good the ice was. That year in New Hampshire, the hockey season, was pretty much a breakout year for me. I'd been away from home, and I'd been playing against older and better players. So it was just good hockey. New England players, a lot of them were New England players up there. So I was playing against kids that were committed to good schools like Boston College or Yale or Harvard or, a lot of the Hockey East schools, so University of New Hampshire, Merrimack. So good Division I schools, and it was pretty much a time for me to look at these players and be like, let's put my abilities against theirs and see where I am. And, I did really, really well that year. And coming into the season, I just remember thinking, like not as much what the coach thinks of me, but he didn't really scout me that much prior to when I stepped on campus.
Right.
So in the fall, we had a split season team. So we played some tournaments in the fall with ice hockey. And leading into the season, we had a tryout. And, I remember him calling me into his office and be like, all right, you made our team, but you're going to be on the fourth line. I'm like, all right.
All right. Yeah.
And then a couple weeks in, just a couple games in, I remember just dominating. And next thing you know, I was playing first line.
Nice.
First power play. I was playing with a kid that was 19. I was playing with a kid that was 19 and a kid that was 18. And I was the center between them.
Wow. And you were what, 15?
15, yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, those were mature guys. Those were men.
Yo, no doubt. No doubt.
I mean, they teach you a lot as a hockey player and as a person. And, that's another thing that just benefited my game was playing with those older guys when I was 15.
Oh, no doubt. Well, it just brings your whole game up. I mean, it's like when you show up at a pickup basketball court and there's some really good players and you get on that court with them, it brings your game up.
Yeah.
So as a center, were you responsible, and this, forgive me, I'm not a hockey expert, but were you distributing the puck to them so they could score? Was that your role as a center? Kind of like a point guard in basketball?
So you could compare it to a point guard in basketball. A lot of stuff runs through the center because he floats more in the middle of the ice. I'd say he's in the middle of the ice more than a lot of the other four guys on the ice. So center is you take the face-offs, and in the defensive zone, I'm just saying in why a center is different than a left wing, right wing, the two defensemen. So you take the face-offs, and in the defensive zone, your responsibility is the other team's third forward, one of the three guys.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other two forwards they're being covered by the other two defensemen that are on your team.
Right.
And then the wingers, so your left and right wing are higher in the defensive zone, covering the wingers. Covering the other team's defense.
So you got to play two-way then.
Yeah, you're playing more defense as a center in the defensive zone. You're a little bit more of the defensive forward.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And then the offensive zone, it's the same thing. All three, the left wing, the center, and the forward. The responsibility isn't different. All three of you guys are trying to score goals and make plays.
I see.
But in the defensive zone, you're playing a little bit more defensive posture than what your left and right wing would be doing.
Right on.
So,
yeah. Do you play center now, or are you a wing, or what positions do you typically play now?
I've been playing center my whole life, but my first year of junior hockey, I was a left wing. Then I played the majority of my junior career at center.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the position that I like to play the most.
Right on. Good.
But I could play left wing, I could play right wing, and played a couple games at defense.
I'm sure you could probably put on the gear and guard the net, right?
Well, yeah, no, I'm not crazy enough to be a goalie. But no, yeah, playing center between two older guys in New Hampshire, it really helped me, and it was a great year. I learned a lot from the coach there, Coach Casey Kesselring, and was actually able to play with his son, Mikey, when he was a freshman at New Hampton. And this past year, I was playing with him in Fargo. So,
nice.
It says a lot about his coaching ability that he has coached not only his son into a great hockey player, but has had guys like myself and a few other guys that have come through him at New Hampton School and gone on to have really good careers.
Yeah, coaches like that make big differences.
He's a huge hockey guy. I mean, he would, talk about guys that have helped me out in my career. In comparison to Mr. Garrett, he got me into the school, but I remember he was like a dad to me the whole year. He would drive me down to the airport. He would go over to the hockey shops, and I'd give him because I was if I was in the classroom and I broke a stick the previous day, I'd be like, hey Casey, can you go pick up this stick? I just purchased it at like the hockey place over here. And he's like, okay. So he would go and oh man, the biggest thing was blades. I'd have so many blades break because of the cold weather.
Yeah.
And I was like, Casey, I purchased this hockey gear down the road. I'm in class right now. Can you go pick it up? And he'd be like, all right, I'll have it for practice.
So this is really before Amazon was a big thing, right?
Yeah,
so you had to go pick it up.
If Amazon was around, I wouldn't make Casey do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it was so funny because he would take me down to the airport in Manchester, and I'd tell you what, man, we would talk just hockey for an hour straight. Anytime I talk to Casey, on the phone or whether we're texting, it's all hockey stuff. The guy is probably the biggest hockey guy I've ever met, and I love him for that. So I was able to be under a really good coach that was just a huge lover of the game.
That's awesome.
And that was my time in New Hampshire. So then after that, I ended up coming home. So my goal kind of became, so after playing prep school hockey, my goal was to get into the USHL. I'd kind of figured out what the USHL was, and I'll explain that in a sec. But playing prep school hockey and seeing where these high caliber players were going and seeing where these players were getting full ride scholarships and going to the NHL, a lot of it was through the USHL. So the USHL, it's the United States Hockey League, and it's the top junior league in the United States. And it's Tier 1 Junior A hockey. So pretty much everybody in the league, so I'd say 95 to 100% of the kids have scholarships to play Division I hockey.
Wow.
So that was one of my goals, is to play juniors so I can play Division I hockey. But leaving New Hampshire after my year in New Hampshire, I decided to come home and play for the Junior Ducks. So I made that decision purely based on wanting to get to the USHL, and that being one of the stepping stones for me. Also, it was going to be like my last year living at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd had that taste of living away from home, and believe me, I loved it. And it's definitely helped me a lot as a person. But I knew coming home, if that was an option, that it'd be pretty good because, you know, it was my last year living with my family. I haven't lived at home since.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I came home to play my last year of midgets for the Junior Ducks, and that's when I was back, you know, in Mr. Garrett's office saying, "Mr. Garrett, what's the situation here? I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the whole Poway High School thing again." He said, okay, we see what we can do. And then he called me up and said, you know, we got a program through Poway Unified called New Directions. I was like, all right, what's that? And he was like, well, go down there, and, you know, they've got counselors. And it turned out that my counselor from Poway my freshman year had actually switched into a New Directions counselor. So I was like, all right, cool. You know, went down and saw her, and she said, this would be perfect for you. If you're going to be doing the same travel schedule that you were your freshman year, this will be perfect for you. So what it was is you go in once a week for a class. So you take classes in 4-week periods, and after 2 weeks you take the midterm, and after 4 weeks you take the final. So you had to teach yourself just one class in that 4-week period, and it was all pretty much paper stuff. So you get the book, and you get like a pamphlet, like 30 pages per week, and do all your classwork pretty much on the road and by yourself, and then meet with your teacher and discuss what you'd gone through, and take your test, and, you know, move on to the next class.
So that's nice. It's flexible.
Very flexible.
You know, and you can kind of fit it around your schedule.
It worked perfectly. And I mean, it says a lot, again, about Poway Unified, that they have a program like
right
that.
On.
Because there's only certain schools that allowed kids to do that. And, you know, the majority of my classmates had full-time jobs, and they couldn't go to school. So I was like, this is perfect for you guys just as it's perfect for me.
Yeah, right on.
You know, so that year I did all my English, history, psychology, all those classes through New Directions. And then science, they didn't have there, so I had to take that at Poway High School. So I was back in the classroom at Poway doing physics. And it was funny because just going back to Poway and just doing one class, it's like all these kids are looking at me like, this kid's like, I swear I've never seen him before. He's never here like for any other class, and he just shows up for this one class and then books. I'm like, yeah, that's it. These kids are like, he's living like a double life. Like, this kid's got this kid.
He's like Batman, Adam West, you know.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
What is it? No, it's Bruce. Whatever. I can't remember him.
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Yeah. His double life. But no, it's great because, you know, my physics teacher is just like my bio teacher. My first year had worked with me, and I remember I had to take the math at New Directions. The math class I was taking at New Directions, the class schedule, you'd meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays for 45 minutes. And it was like right as my physics class ended that I'd have to go all the way over there and jump in my math class. So, I mean, I'd cut physics class probably like 10 minutes early on Tuesdays and like 45 minutes early on Thursdays.
Wow.
And I just pack up and walk out. I told my teacher, I was like, hey, like, I got to leave. And she's like, oh, yeah, just get up. Don't make a lot of noise and walk out. I was like, are you sure that's okay? She's like, yeah.
What, did you get the evil eye from your classmates? Like,
all my classmates would look at me on Tuesdays.
Who the hell do you think you are?
All my classmates on Tuesdays and Thursdays would look at me and they'd be like, what the heck? This kid just leaves. Like, the teacher has yet to say something to him. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is great.
So that must have been really strange, you know, like you were at Poway as a freshman, you missed like 30-40% of the year. So your lunchtime, you're in the classroom, you're there after school, you're not at very many social activities like football games and stuff.
Yeah.
Then you're gone sophomore year, then you're back as a junior, and you kind of just pop in and pop out. mean, the whole time they're going like, who's this Herrman guy? You know, he's coming and going, but it must have been hard for you to like build friendships and, you know, kind of get to know kids, because the minute you probably build a relationship, boom, you're out of town.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, I had few friends. I'd say the friends I had at Poway were just classroom friends, you know, kids that I could talk to during class, but it's not like I'd socialize with them anywhere outside of school.
Sure.
So it's not like there weren't huge friendships, but the kids there they were friendly. They were always super nice to me. And, you know, I explained to them the whole hockey thing, and it was so hard explaining that. And they're like, wait a second, like, slow down. Like, what are you doing with your career? What do you do? It's just so different. And, you know, the friends there, I have a couple friends that I still talk to, but other than that, it's just not too many really, really close friends. But like I said, everybody there was super nice and super friendly.
That was awesome.
It's tough, though, because like you said, I didn't get to go to the football games or the soccer or the lacrosse, big sporting events or pep rally. I don't think I even went to a pep rally when I was at Poway, and I heard those were so much fun. But, you know, it is what it is. Living my life and doing that, and they respected that.
But ultimately, you know, talking about this at the beginning, you were pursuing your happiness. Yeah. You were doing what Rory wanted to do. Yeah. You know, and you had to make certain sacrifices along the way, but really they're not so much sacrifices. They were choices that you made that were in your best interest, because you wanted to be a hockey player and you wanted to compete at the highest level. Yep. And so you knew you had to do things different. Yeah. And that's cool. I mean, it's cool that you recognized it. It's great that your parents supported you through it. It's great that you found mentors along the way. Yeah. Okay. And so, this is an awesome story.
Hockey has been great to me and my family, my family and I, just purely because we jumped into the game together. None of us had played hockey. No one in the family knew about it. San Diego is a small hockey community, so jumping into hockey for us is you know, we were learning together of what I needed to do. Obviously, being at the rink all the time and being with the guys all the time at the hockey rink is just like, for me, I learned at an accelerated level, and I'd have to come home. It's like when your parents come home, or you come home to your parents, like, what do you learn at school? And you're like, nothing. It's like, what'd you learn today at practice? I'm like, I don't know. But no, we learned together all the different things.
I understand.
It was good, though. Poway High definitely helped me a lot with the schooling aspect. But, that year we were playing for the junior Ducks and making the decision to come back to get to the USHL. You know, the junior hockey level, the majority of the scouts for the USHL scouted youth hockey tournaments opposed to prep school, or I shouldn't say that, but they scouted they scouted the youth hockey a little bit more than they scouted some of the prep school hockey. So the tournaments that I was going to with the junior Ducks, all the USHL teams were there. So when I came back and I made the decision to move to the junior Ducks, you know, being that my goal was the USHL, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, it made sense. I mean, you're going to get all that exposure, you know, possibly a lot more than you would have gotten in New England. Yeah. And then you get to be back home.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. No, but a lot of good New England players do end up playing the USHL. Right. And it's good hockey up there. So, I came back and it all kind of went to the way it planned out. You know, I got drafted. The way the USHL works is they have a youth draft. There's a phase 1 and there's a phase 2. And I got drafted phase 2, 10th round, 165th overall to the Green Bay Gamblers. So the team I played on. But, you know, I talked to teams throughout the year. My coach said he'd talked to almost every team. And, you know, I just didn't remember talking to Green Bay that much. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, there's a team. Like, I talked to teams that were like, hey, we're going to take you in like the 3rd round. We're going to take you in the 4th round. We're like, all right. And then the freaking 3rd and 4th round go by and you're like, what the heck? What's going on here? Yeah. But what it was, a lot of the teams, you know, I had another option to play in another junior league, and, you know, that kind of got out, and teams didn't really know if they should waste a pick. But then, you know, I had make some calls and be like, no, like I'm going to this league, like this is where I want to be. And then 10th round comes around, I got selected,
and that happens actually, you know, in the draft for baseball, because they're not sure if a ball player really wants to go to college or if they really want to play pro, and then that'll affect how a team chooses to use their pick.
Yeah,
because they don't want to, you know, use a 3rd round pick if the player's not going to be interested in going there.
Yeah,
so I understand that dynamic, but yeah. So it's interesting too, because the league is, I mean, they're like these city names, you know. It's almost like, you know, the LA Kings and the St. Louis Blues, you know, but it's the Green Bay Gamblers.
Yeah,
and they have a draft just like the NHL. I mean, it's incredible for a youth amateur level.
Yeah, the way the league works is it's, you know, there's a league similar to ours up in Canada, and it's called the CHL, the Canadian Hockey League. And that's the top junior league, you know, they call it Major Junior in Canada. And they got a Western Hockey League branch, an Ontario Hockey League branch, and the Quebec Major Junior League, QMJHL branch. And our league is very, very comparable to that league, or those leagues. It's the top level junior league, and all of our kids have aspirations to play in the NHL.
Right.
What separates us is that league is they are considered paid professionals. You know, they get like a certain amount of money per month, like not much. I think it's like maybe $300 to $500 a player per month, like for food or room and board and stuff like that. So with that stipend money that they get in Canada, they lose their, you know, NCAA eligibility. So our league was set up to influence players to go to college.
Right.
You know, to use college as a stepping stone to the pros.
Right.
So, you know, you show up in the USHL and you like you said, it's team names. It's like a legit league. It's very similar to pro level hockey. We're playing 62 games a year. We're getting fans, you know, we're signing autographs. We're living away from home, and all the stuff we get is high quality. You know, we're getting all the best gear. We're in the best locker rooms. We got training rooms.
This must have been pretty sweet for you.
Oh, it's great. You know, you come from playing youth hockey and jumping into that, you're like, it's a completely different ball game.
Oh yeah.
You're pretty much like jumping into professional sports right there at 17.
Yeah. It's professional, but it's not professional.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It is interesting. I mean, the whole idea that, you know, if you took even just a small salary, $300, $500 a month, you lose your NCAA amateur status.
Yeah.
That whole thing, in my opinion, needs to be major reforms. And I know they're struggling through that.
Yeah.
You know, and there's different situations in football and basketball and hockey and baseball. And I'm interested to see, like, if we can project 20 years down the road, what the NCAA is going to look like.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, there's so many gray areas with rules these days, but, you know, I don't know. It's... For hockey players in the United States, the NCAA route is the route that is most beneficial.
Well, yeah. You know? Well, of course. I mean, you're going to get an education, you get a degree.
Yeah.
And you're going to play at the highest level.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So that's the way the USHL is set up, and having all their kids go NCAA is great. And,
yeah, right on.
You know, we get treated like kings in the USHL, and it's a lot to say to USA Hockey, and
we got to be careful saying kings, I guess, in that context, right?
I know. No, we get treated fairly well.
Very well, like royalty.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. But no, I mean, I shown up to Green Bay in the summer after getting picked, like, in the 10th round. And remember the coach coming out to me before the camp saying, you know, we expect you to make the team. And I'm like, all right. Like, okay. Like,
oh, well, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I came out here to make the team, so...
Yeah.
But, you know, whether he says that to other players or not, like, I don't know. I'm sure he says that to every guy just to influence players to just play at their highest level for their camp. You know, they have a short period of time to pick a team. So I ended up trying out for the team my first year when I was 17, and, you know, I made the team.
Right on.
Yeah. So I was moving out to Green Bay for my senior year of high school.
Oh my. So Poway freshman, boarding school sophomore, Poway junior, And now senior year, you're going to Green Bay.
Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Schwabenau High School.
Right on.
But no, I had my first taste of USHL hockey when I was 16 and playing for the Junior Ducks. And, we were in a tournament in Detroit, and, I had a pretty good game. And I remember, after the game, the development coach was talking to my coach, and then next morning I wake up and my dad's like, hey, we got to pack your bags. You're going to play for the development program tonight. And this team, the United States Development, the way they're set up, they have a U17, a U18. It's the top kids in the country play on these teams, and they play in our league and use our league as a pretty much good competition for them to grow as players. So I got that opportunity when I was 16 to play for the USA National Team Development Program, and I played 3 games. And I remember first game, I mean, it's like USHL hockey. It's like the league I'm playing in next year. But looking out there, and I'm like, geez, these guys are big. These guys are good players. Yeah. The game was so fast. It's a completely different game going from just playing in a youth tournament down the road to jumping into this USHL game. It just happened so fast.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But it was a great experience. I played against Muskegon and Dubuque. I went on the road with them and played in Dubuque. And I didn't play too much against the game against the team against Muskegon. I think it was our first game we played Muskegon. I didn't play too many shifts in that. But when I got to Dubuque, I was playing pretty regularly on, I think it was the third line. It was fun games, real fun games.
You get to wear the USA jersey.
Yep, I had the USA jersey on, and USA gloves and pants and helmet. And
yeah.
It was great. It was probably one of the best experiences of my life.
Yeah, you get a great national pride, the whole thing. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was fun. Seeing that, it was almost like a learning experience for me of what I needed to continue to work on for this summer to be able to play in this league in the next year coming. So I made the Green Bay team. I'd shown up in Green Bay. I was at the high school, and that's kind of when my junior career started. Played my first year in Green Bay. I was at the high school. And my second year, I was out of high school, but I was in Green Bay. And then my third year, I played Green Bay and got traded to Fargo.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you're wearing the shirt right now, the Fargo Force.
Fargo Force.
Mm-hmm.
Junior hockey is an experience, though. Like you said, go from Poway, New Hampshire, Poway to Green Bay. But USHL is different from all the other experiences.
Yeah, because I saw highlights, of you in those arenas, and those are like big time arenas.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of fans there, and people wearing the gear, supporting the team, just like fans in San Diego support the Gulls.
Yeah.
And I was impressed, just a little bit I saw, because and it looked to me as a non-hockey guy, I thought it was like a professional league.
Yeah.
But I realized, okay, no, it's not professional. And actually that makes sense because your goal is to play D1.
Mm-hmm.
Your next goal.
Yeah,
the ultimate goal is NHL, of course.
Yep.
But so I was just really impressed with how that worked, and then the whole environment around that USHL.
Yeah.
Was just top notch.
Well, we played out of the Rush Center in Green Bay, and it was right across from Lambeau Field, the Packer Arena.
The frozen tundra.
The frozen tundra. Yeah. So we were playing, Rush Center held about, I think, 12,000 people.
Oh, it's a big arena.
So we were averaging, depending on how the Packers did during their season, and I was lucky because the years that I played there, they had a couple bad seasons, so we were getting more fans.
Well, bad for them is average for most other teams.
Their fans weren't too pleased, but they were coming to our games. We were averaging like probably 4,000 fans maybe on bad nights. We had nights where Teddy Bear Toss night, we had about 8,300.
Wow.
Wiener dog race, we had like 8,000.
Tell me about the wiener dog race.
Wiener dog race, you bring your wiener dog and they race from like the red line to like the other side. I think it was, I don't know, we were in the locker room. It's during intermission, so you only get to see videos on like Twitter and stuff. But yeah, you bring your wiener dog and you go on like the goal line. You have like one owner over here and like the other owner is like calling him and like they crown one at the end. It's a pretty funny.
Can they get traction? I mean,
I don't know, man. I mean, they're running out there. They're
just
kind
of slide them along.
That's the funny thing though about the USHL. There's so many different like nights. There's the wiener dog race. There's like bring your kids to the game night, princess night. We had a heavy metal night.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
And we had a Packer night. So there's a lot of jerseys that are made like specifically for the games that you wear. Like they're not like your normal in-season jerseys.
Oh.
So you wear them for like one game, and then after you auction them off.
Oh, nice.
At the end, and a lot of the proceeds. And we have a military night.
Oh, cool.
So we do like a camo themed jersey with camo helmets, and we raffle those off, and all the money goes to like the, a certain military association out there. I think it was veterans or something. Cool. It was really cool. It was awesome, and Fargo was the same. They seated. I think the rink seated about 6,000. We averaged about 4,000. So. Fun rinks to play in the USHL.
So you figure when you got started, you're playing in these tournaments as a 10-year-old, and pretty much the only people there watching are like parents and brothers and sisters. Yeah. And suddenly now you're playing in front of like 8,000 people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how does that feel like to be in that arena with that kind of energy?
It's electrifying. I mean, I scored some big goals in packed houses, and I mean, you put one in the net when that many people are there and they're all screaming your name and they're all banging on the glass.
Right on.
You feel some jitters for sure. It's fun. It just makes it so much more fun. And I remember when I scored one goal. I think it was teddy bear toss. It was the second goal of the game, and even just the second goal of the game, everybody was going nuts. And it was fun.
That is so awesome.
It was great. Nothing better than playing big in big crowds.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and it takes a special kind of a athlete and a psyche to rise up in those moments. Because for some athletes, that big crowd could crush them.
Yeah,
they'd feel the pressure. But it's cool that you were able to have that enhance your game.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier with a home crowd opposed to away crowds, but for me as a player, I like playing in big crowds, either home or away. You just feel more energy.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
You get your legs going. You just get into the game. Nothing better than when guys are rooting against you, too, because they're like banging on the glass. I mean, some USHL crowds a little bit more vicious than others.
Yeah.
Midwest people, but it was fun.
Right. You probably got called every name in the book in some of those arenas.
I mean, I remember one game we had a kid get a beer thrown on him.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Like over the glass, they like launched a beer onto the ice?
It was we lost the game, and it was like getting intense, and he went to the penalty box, and someone just dumped it on him.
Oh, man.
It's a shame, but it's a pretty typical junior hockey story, to be honest.
All right, well, that's all right, man.
Oh, no, this is good.
So this is so awesome. So, what are the other teams that are in that circuit on the USHL?
We have an Eastern Conference and a Western Conference, but there's teams that, the farthest West team is Fargo, and then the farthest East team is Youngstown, so Youngstown, Ohio, and the Youngstown Phantoms. But between there, I think there's 17 teams total.
Okay, so it's really definitely Midwest.
All located in the Midwest.
Yeah.
We got teams in Chicago. We got Madison Capitals, which is in Madison, Wisconsin. There's a bunch of teams in Iowa. There's Dubuque, Sioux Falls, Sioux City, Cedar Rapids. There's Lincoln in Nebraska. There's Tri-City in Nebraska, the Tri-City Storm. Sioux Falls, Stampede. South Dakota team. That's a nice league. 2 development program teams are in Michigan. And then there's Muskegon, Michigan. And Chicago. Yeah, I don't know. I might be missing a couple, but it's all located right there in the Midwest.
It's almost like Big Ten conference,
Yeah.
It's that whole area there.
Yeah.
So I saw the video of you that got in the fight on the ice with this, what's that his name? I think it was Kaiser.
Yeah.
So, you guys were just going at it. And tell me that story. What was that like?
So we had played in Muskegon, and I got in a couple fights in Muskegon in my career, but that was the first one. And Muskegon's a fun place to play because, their team's usually always a really gritty team, and if they're beating you, they're gonna let you know. And at the time, they were beating us like 2-0, and they were chirping. It was the second game of the weekend. They beat us the night before, and they were just jabbing the whole night. And this kid and I kind of talked and had a couple scrums, but I'd come off a separated shoulder like the week before, and I remember our coach coming in after second period just saying, "Oh, we need some energy or something." And I was like, "Oh God, like I gotta fight this guy." So first period I go out there, second period I went out there, and first shift I scored, and I wasn't even thinking about scoring at the time, and I just puck came to me in front of the net, and I put one in. I was like 2-1. I'm like, okay, we're in this game.
Yeah, right on.
Next shift, I came off the ice after I scored. Next shift, they scored to make it 3-1. I was like, okay, like same situation that I was in before.
Right, down
so
2.
I jump over, and Kaiser's on the ice, and I kind of look at him, and he looks at me, and I was kind of gave him a nod, and he gave me a nod. I won the face-off back and kind of regrouped with my D, caught the pass, just kind of chipped it, saw him coming to hit me, and he kind of brushed me, and then like right away we looked at each other and just shedded our gloves and went right at it. So, but yeah, he's good fighter, good guy, and he tried swipe. He didn't expect it because first punch out of the gate, I just grabbed him and just socked him like right in the mouth, and he'd been doing most of the talking that weekend, so he might not have thought that one was coming. But then after that, he was trying to swipe and, hit me, and I was dodging pretty much the majority of his hits. He didn't really hit me that fight. And every punch I was getting, I was just pulling him in a little bit and just connecting right to his face.
Wow.
And, it was a good fight, long fight, probably like 20, 30 seconds. And, at the end of it, like, pulled him in. I kind of tripped on my knee and, slipped a little bit. But, it was good because even when he was kind of like, still standing, like I kind of came up and I was fine. I was pumped, and he kind of turns towards the camera, kind of turns, and his whole lip split. And he's bleeding from his mouth, and he's got like a big gash up above his eye. So I came back after going to the locker room for the third period and was in the penalty box, and I look over at him. He's got stitches all on his lip and stitches all up by his eyes.
They already sewed him up.
Oh, yeah. He was sewn up and back out there. That was a good fight, though. It was a real good fight.
Yeah, because I saw the video, and when you guys were doing it, you're grabbing jerseys, and you're trying to punch, and it's like chaotic.
Yeah.
And sometimes, depending on how your jersey's pulled, you would be restricted in your movement. Mm-hmm. That must have been really crazy.
It's tough. Fighting hockey is different than fighting, strategically. It's just different than fighting in all other aspects of combat, or UFC or any of that stuff. But, a lot of it's you got to maintain your balance and timing, and, you got to have a good grip of the guy because, some fights will go like 5 seconds and one guy will throw and just kind of trip, and, then the fight's over. But no, that one was a long one. We both had a pretty good grip on each other's jersey and both maintained pretty solid balance and trying to find shots. But
well, it's interesting that you were saying how. Obviously, I get the whole angle of the coach, wanting to fire up the teim, right?
Oh, no. Coaches don't necessarily tell you to fight, but, like, sometimes you just know that there needs to be something that happens in the game. And
I get it at that level.
Mm-hmm.
But what I thought was interesting, the way you described it, is like you looked at him and he looked at you, and you sort of did a head nod. It was almost like you were agreeing to fight before the fight happened.
Yeah.
And then it happened.
Yeah, no,
so that's like this unique kind of I don't know what it is.
It's just like a mutual agreement.
Yeah.
There's not a lot. There's really no hockey fights where both guys don't want to be in the fight.
Right.
You usually know you're gonna go at it, and whether it's a scrum in front of the net and things get heated, or it's just you're skating around, then you tell a guy like, hey, do you want to fight? And he agrees to it. Then it goes about the way it goes about.
Right.
But no, I remember my first fight in the USHL was against this big, like 6'4", 6'5" Ukrainian dude, like 215, 17 at the time, and it was probably 5'11" or 6 foot and $185, and we were going at it in front of the net, and he kind of tied me up like right as a loose puck came that I probably could have put in, but he took me down. I was like super, super mad about it, and I looked at him. I was like, let's go. And I kind of skated away, and he was like, okay. And I was like, no way. No. I'm in this. So he grabbed me, and he freaking gave me one like right on the eye, and all in one, kind of slung me back a little bit, and all in one motion, I came back and just popped him like right on the beak, right on the nose, and he kind of went down, like fell over me, and I kind of just felt his nose like crumble in my fist.
Whoa.
And then I came back, and he wasn't in the penalty box. He didn't come back for the rest of the game. I was talking to my trainer. I was like, Dave, what happened to that guy? And he's like, he broke his nose and gave him a concussion. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what the heck? But no, I mean, like I said, it's a mutual agreement. You get in fights with big guys, and
it's like David versus Goliath a little bit right there,
Oh no, he's a big guy. I'm sure I got pretty lucky. He'd beat me up any other day. No, but it was fun.
What is it? And I worked down this little rabbit hole about fighting, but in other sports, fighting, sometimes you'll see it, but it seems like in hockey it's more accepted. There'll be bench clearing brawls in baseball, but quite often it's just a bunch of nonsense, But in hockey, I mean, it's like, they go toe to toe.
Yeah, hockey is different from any other sport with the fighting aspect of it. But, it's been in the game since the game started, and it's not like it was back in the day where you'll look and there'll be like 5 guys from your team fighting the other 5 guys from the other team, like like that Slapshot movie.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like it's kind of a part of the game where it's you police yourself, or it's just things get tense in sports.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And hockey is, like I said, is the only sport that you could actually go at someone and full on fight and it not be against the rules and not get suspended or kicked out or anything.
Yeah.
So it's more of like it's unique in its own way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the fighting now it's not like it was back in the day with the hockey guys. It's fighting now it's getting more and more out of the game, but it's definitely still relevant where there's guys that are you don't want to mess with on the ice, or you could be targeting someone on the other team and have a guy come up to you and be like, don't mess with him, because then I might have to fight you.
Right.
And it's just kind of like one of those things that's been a part of the game forever.
Wow. So tell me, you're in Green Bay, mm-hmm. and you're in high school in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing the USHL, you're traveling all over the Midwest, but you're still a high school student.
Yeah.
So what was that like? Now suddenly you're the new guy again.
Yeah, completely different school. And what it is we had like 6 kids that were in high school still on the team. And every year they just throw you into this high school that's in Schwabenon, for the Green Bay kids at least. And, the team takes care of the majority of the talking and communicating the schedules through counselors and teachers. So they know what to expect rather than you having to confront a teacher and tell them what your schedule is. They know what's going on. So it was set up really well. And, we missed a lot of school because we would, if we were playing in Fargo, we'd leave on Wednesday. And we wouldn't get back till Sunday morning. So we'd miss two days of school. We'd probably miss like Wednesday through Friday, once a month. Sometimes it was just Friday. Actually, there was probably like 3 Fridays every week or every month that we'd miss. But no, the kids there were in Green Bay, had experienced all the gambler players going to their school, and they were like, some of them were like, okay, these kids come in, they think they're all that. They can just come to our school.
Yeah.
Like they're as seniors and just walk in and be a part of our senior class.
Yeah.
And some kids were like, didn't take to it too well, but
yeah, that's high school.
Yeah.
And it's just high school has
it didn't help
some weird stuff.
Yeah, it didn't help that some of the kids on our team would almost abuse it too. Like they wouldn't respect them back because they were just beefing. But I walked in. I had a good attitude about pretty much my hockey career and what I'd had to do. So it wasn't anything different for me. I walked in. I made pretty good friends with all the people at the school and was like, "Hey man, like I'm not here to get in any of your stuff. I'm just here to go to school and do that.
Right
and,
on.
We can be friends. I could tell you about back home and maybe tell me a little bit about Green Bay." And I made a lot of friends actually at Schwaben and good people there. So I mean, the Midwest people are so nice that
absolutely,
it was good. And I liked going to school there.
Nice. So Green Bay, man, you always hear the stories about the Green Bay Packers and that whole community, but the stories I always hear about Green Bay that I think are funny is when the Green Bay freezes and then people will drive their cars out there and they go a little too far and they end up sinking.
Yeah.
And then you hear the stories about other people that like to go ice fishing in these little huts. And I hear about all the shenanigans that go on inside those huts. So have you ever gone ice fishing?
No, I had the opportunity to go when I was in Green Bay with a girlfriend of mine, and we were supposed to go, I think it was a Sunday, and I got a call from my coach in the morning, and it was the last day of the trade deadline. I was like, okay, like this isn't the call I want to get right now, but it's the call that, happens in sports and in hockey. So
yeah,
I was texting her, I was like, hey, I got to go into the coach's office. So he was like, you've been traded to Fargo. And I was like, oh God. But I was like, I had to text my girlfriend. I was like, hey, like, I can't go ice fishing. Like, so I had the opportunity, and we were going to go snowmobiling that day too, but I missed it, man. It was the last day, and I was freaking out of town the next day. But it's all right, though. I'm sure I'll get back there and experience that and experience some more of the hunting and the fishing that they have to offer in the Midwest. But, I mean, I tell you what, like, the Midwest people, man, like, that's their Christmas, like, opening day deer season. Remember, like, everybody in the school was like, the majority of the school was gone, girls and guys.
Right.
Like, where did all these kids go? Like, and then my teacher would be like, oh, it's deer season. And they were always like, oh man, I wish I could be out there. They got their tree stands. There's certain spots where they could go. But it was the same for ice fishing. Once the ice froze over, they'd be like, oh, we got to go put our tent up or go put our hut up on the lake or on the bay there and get the tip-ups going.
Yeah, right on.
But it's big. Yeah, they're huge into the ice fishing. They're huge into the deer hunting. Anything outdoorsy there, they love doing it. And, it's pretty cool culture.
That is. And I've heard stories about people that have been to Green Bay, mostly like a pilgrimage to go to Lambeau Field, right? To see a Packer game. But they always come back, just loving it. And, the guys that took me and my son to the Gulls game, the Ackley family, they're from Wisconsin.
Okay.
And so they just love that. I love enjoying their stories about the whole Wisconsin. I mean, it is a culture in and of itself, And,
it is.
And I think that's neat. But you were there for like a little over 2 seasons, and then you were traded. And I'm thinking, how does that feel, like, to be traded? That's got to be an emotional thing for you.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's part of sports. Like, it's what every player goes through at some point in their career. So you just pack up the car and go. And
yeah, because it's just a business, right?
Yeah, it's a business. So there's no love lost between teams or anything.
Sometimes it's interesting. You'll see sometimes a player. You'll see this in some sports where they'll fall in love with the city where they play.
Oh yeah.
And then they get traded, and it's just crushing.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they say, "Oh, the team doesn't want me anymore," but this other team does want you.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a mind game. But suddenly you're, probably like you got the call from the coach. Mm-hmm. You're in his office. He tells you the news. Then how quickly are you in Fargo?
I was there within 2 days.
Wow.
So, but it was like you said with the trade, and then they fall in love with the city versus team needs you. So at the time, when I was in Green Bay, we weren't doing too well, and we were, close to last place in the league. So, and I was having a pretty good season, and, I didn't know if I was going to get traded exactly, but I kind of figured it was going to happen because I knew some good teams were going to want players for playoffs.
Okay. Trade deadline, I got you.
So that's kind of how it went with me. I got called in, but I got traded with another kid on my team that was a defenseman, and he was a really good player. So we both got shipped out to Fargo, and Green Bay in return got like some picks and some kids for this season.
Yeah.
So, I was happy that I was going to be able to experience some playoffs and be on a great team. Like it was good. Like this team wanted me to come in to play and be a good player for their team and advance their team and get into playoffs and all that. So it was a new opportunity for me, and I really enjoyed that part of it.
That's awesome.
But it's tough because, the way the junior hockey system works is you get put with billet families too, and you can get pretty close with them. So the billet families, I had three billets in my junior career.
So what's billet mean?
It's like a host family. How you have like foreign exchange students here that'll stay with certain families. The teams, they, kind of advertise, do you want to billet a Green Bay Gambler? Do you want to billet a Fargo Force member?
Yeah.
And certain people in the community will be like, oh, yeah, that sounds like something we would like to do. Or most of the people have like a younger son or like an extra room or something.
Yeah.
Or just super into sports and want to meet a player and see what his life is like and learn about where he's from.
Yeah.
So my first year, I was with the Ward family, and their situation was they had older kids and that were out of the house. So they billeted me and a Swedish kid, myself, at their house, but they were in the high school district that our hockey team worked with, the high school there. So I lived there because they were in that district, and I could go to school there and consider that my home address.
Right.
And that was a great experience. Like, they treated me so well, and their family is absolutely amazing. They had a young grandson, Logan, who loved hockey and would come to all the games.
Nice.
He was like a younger brother to us. And then after my first season ended, I got moved to another billet house in Green Bay, and that was the Babe family, Cindy and Dave and Alex. And they had a son with Down syndrome, Alex, but he was like a huge sports fan. Like the guy just loved the Gamblers and loved the Packers. He's a big Vikings fan, which is hilarious. A
Vikings fan in Green Bay?
Because he was a Brett Favre fan. So when he got moved, then he just kind of stayed with him. It was so fun watching the games with him and Dave and Cindy. But Alex, man, he was like a big brother to me, and I was able to create such a bond with him. And he'd come to all the games and know all the rosters and all the players, and he would know if kids were traded or on the new roster like before I would even know. I'm like, Alex, who's on the team today? Like, who do we got today? And he was so into it, and it was amazing. And even if you'd have like a bad game or something, like the Billets, especially Alex, were so supportive. They were like, "Oh, good game." And you're like, "Oh,
nice."
It's like their family, a second family too.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd say that's the hardest part of the trade, to be honest with you, is leaving those families. But
well, and you left a girlfriend too.
Yeah, a lady friend of mine.
Yeah.
So that's all right though. Like, friends are friends. The best thing about it now is you got social media. You can connect with all your friends. I mean, I talked to all my buddies from New Hampshire, all the friends I made at that school that were, international students, with Facebook and Instagram, Twitter and Snapchat and all that. So I get to talk to all my friends still and create really good mutual bonds, even though we're not with each other. So
right.
And, I still stay in touch with all my Bills. I mean, I was texting my Bill mom today just seeing because they got a new puppy, and I was like, hey, how's the dog doing?
Nice.
So it was funny. But, yeah, after getting traded, I went from Dave and Cindy's house, packed up everything, left town, was in Fargo. And, right when I got there, -20, like right out of the gate.
-20.
-20. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. Because it was just starting to warm up a little bit in Green Bay.
So do you feel like you're back at the arena in New Hampshire with two walls?
Oh, God, no. It was so cold in Fargo. It's like extra cold in Fargo. It was cold. It was negatives for like 2 weeks.
And
like
what time of the year was this?
I was late February, early March.
So that's like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Like this year.
Yeah.
Wow. -20. As a Southern California guy, that's like hard to really understand.
Oh, it's tough, but you get through it. You just pack on all the clothes.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was great because Fargo, like the billets they put me with were just amazing people. Like they had kids that got traded throughout the year. But I was their last kid that they had because I couldn't get traded after the deadline was over.
Right.
So I show up and they were all there and Dan, Wendy, and Brody Halverson, and Brody was the younger kid. He was a only child, and he was about 13. And tell you what, man, they were just unbelievable people. Just to take you into their home, for a couple months, like I'll be talking to them forever. They supported me and they helped me a lot, and I created a really good friendship with Brody, and
nice.
We talked a lot about hockey and fishing and all that stuff. He was really into fishing, so
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I can't thank my billets that I've had enough, or my host families that I've had enough, and what they do, and it's an experience. If you're not an international kid, you don't really get that unless you're playing junior hockey, and it's really a good experience, and you learn a lot. So
well, yeah, and you grow up a lot, right?
Yeah.
You're away from home.
Yeah.
You are in almost like another home away from home, but still you're on your own.
Yeah.
You're playing big time sports. You're still trying to get through school, right? Well, by this time you had graduated high school.
Yeah.
You develop. You become a man, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Wow. So when did you get back to Poway? How long have you been in town?
I've been in town about a month now.
Okay.
So I took a trip to Spain to visit my sister, to Madrid. Was there for 12 days. That's considered like my trip for the summer.
Well,
to take some time off.
Yeah.
And now I'm just back into training.
Right on. So tell me about your training program. What are the things you do?
I train differently these last 2 years, and I have all the other summers past that I've been training and coming home and doing my off season. I work with a guy up in Carlsbad that's a sports scientist. So, we do things completely different than what I had done in the past. And all of it is revolved around the movements that you're doing, in a game or in practice as a hockey player. It's designed to make you not a better weightlifter or anything. It's just designed to make you a better hockey player.
Oh, wow.
So all the workouts we do are very, very interesting. But as I'm doing them, as I'm thinking about them, it really relates to what I'd be thinking and how I'd be moving during a game. A lot of it's really low weight and just your body weight and certain movements that we do, that will help the muscle groups and help the movements that you'd make on the ice.
Right. Nice.
So, I'm sore all the time.
Yeah,
I'm more sore doing all the stuff that we do. I think the biggest weights we've used, I've been going 2 weeks now, 2.5 weeks, and I think the biggest weights we've used is 20-pound dumbbells.
Wow.
We worked out one day with like 2-pound weights, and it was like a knee rehabilitation workout, and combined with like a upper body arm movement workout. My arms were shot. Yeah. And I'm just like, Chris, what the heck, man?
Well, if they can get your body in just the right position, they can isolate that muscle just perfectly, right?
Oh yeah, the stuff. Believe me, watching my workout, we work on a field, so it's all outdoors. Sometimes we're in like a workout studio. I think he works out of a CrossFit place, but most of the time we're just on a field using small weights, doing crazy stuff, and It's so much fun.
Right on.
It's so much fun.
So how many times a week were you there?
I go Mondays, Tuesdays, and then Wednesday off, and then Friday, Saturday.
Oh, wow.
No. Thursday, Friday, excuse me, and then Saturday, Sunday off.
Okay, so 4 times a week.
4 times a week. And then, my skating is, I usually skate like once a week until like mid-June, and then I'll ramp it up to like 3 or 4 times a week. But I mean, for me, it's, rest is a huge portion of development as a hockey player. Like, you can't work your body so much. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to get anything out of that.
Do you run a lot?
Oh, the whole workout I'm running.
Yeah, but I mean, you won't go for like a run, like a cardio kind of thing.
I'm usually gassed all the time. Like, believe me, the rest days he gives us, if you don't use them well, you'll feel it for a little bit longer. But I mean, I do a lot of other activities. I go surfing quite a bit. I started surfing I've been surfing my whole life, but I started surfing more last summer after going through some shoulder injuries. I figured this is nothing better than swimming.
So where do you like to go surfing?
I go everywhere. I tend to go in Del Mar mostly because it's kind of just easy going there.
Yeah.
Just a nice beach. There's nice waves there and some good surfers. But I mean, I have a couple friends that surf, and we'll try other places whenever we want.
Right on. Good.
But it's fun. I love getting in the water.
That's nice. Yeah.
Golf, too. I play a lot of golf. Try and golf like once or twice a month.
Okay.
Golf and hockey correlate perfectly, too, because, for whatever reason, every hockey player seems to be a pretty decent golfer.
Right.
I mean, I play with my buddy, and sometimes I'll like nail a par or something. I hadn't played in like 4 or 5 months. And I think I had like 8 pars the other day in 18 holes.
But it's a stick, and it's that lower movement.
Yeah.
Because the deal, the urban legend with baseball players is that golf will ruin a baseball swing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'll say it's an urban legend because some people really believe it, and some people say it's nonsense. But I would imagine for a hockey player, the golf swing is not that much of a difference. I mean, generally speaking,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
the urban legend was that roller hockey would ruin your ice hockey abilities, and I turned out fine.
Yeah, you're okay. Wow. So, what about nutrition? Are there things that you focus on?
I just eat clean. Like all organic food. I mean, I'll have some days where I'll get like a carne asada burrito because I can't help it.
Yeah,
I love
back in San Diego.
Here.
Yeah. But do you like drinking protein drinks or stuff like that?
My nutrition, I don't really stick to like a strict nutrition guide because I like to eat a lot of food, and putting down like this day I'm going to eat chicken, and this day, I don't know what I'm going to eat every day.
So
but
just eat clean.
Yeah, I usually eat. My mom and dad are really good cooks. I'm a pretty good cook myself.
Right on.
So I mean, a lot of it's just home cooked meals. I don't eat any junk food. But before workouts, I go with a smoothie mostly, just because I don't want to feel heavy.
Yeah.
And then after, I'll drink a smoothie too. So I usually just throw like 2 scoops of organic plant-based protein powder, vanilla with the mixed berries that you get at Costco, and a banana, and then I put coconut water in there and blend it all up.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it makes for a good little smoothie.
So let's talk about what's next. So you're going to be going to RPI. Mm-hmm. I say
Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute.
Okay, so I looked that up. It's in Troy, New York. Big time D1 hockey program. So
yep.
So tell me about what you're going to be leaving soon, I'd imagine, right?
August 7th. Yeah,
wow.
I'm leaving in a couple months. So
how did you connect there?
So it's typical story for a USHL players. You get scouted heavily from all the colleges, but they had contacted me, and I'd gone out for a visit, but I think it was last year, late August, I went out and just kind of fell in love with the campus, the coach, the school, the hockey program. It just, everything combined in one in that visit, and I was like, not only am I going to be getting one of the best educations I can possibly get,
Right.
because the school itself is just a top-end school.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to be really, really honing my skills and establishing a good base for a college career as a hockey player. They have a really storied program, and it's been around forever. Their rink is classic barn, and I'm really excited for the fall and for my 4 years at RPI.
Because I've seen RPI's name come up, in the discussion of hockey, some of the big time hockey programs.
Yeah.
And so prior to you coming, I looked it up online. And it's not that big of a school, like 6,000 students, right?
Yeah, I think it's 6,000 undergraduate, 2,000 graduate.
Okay, so it's a modest sized school, but that means you're going to have a lot of really good relationships with your professors.
Yeah,
It's not going to be like you're overwhelmed like at Ohio State or something.
Yeah, picking RPI, it was. I remember choosing RPI not only because of how beautiful the campus was and how, just the talking to my parents and what my future was going to look like there, but it really reminded me of when I was at my prep school. I loved New Hampton. I think if I could recreate that experience at a college level, RPI mimics it really well.
Nice. Well, it's that whole New England vibe,
Yeah.
So, and then you're playing in a barn, but it has 4 walls, right? Not 2.
Yeah, no, you call any of the old hockey rinks a barn. Like a classic rink is like a nice barn.
Okay, I hear you. Well, it's like, what do they call it in basketball? Like Butler University is where they film Hoosiers.
Oh, really?
And what do they call that? I don't use the term barn. A field house. Yeah, that's the other term.
That's the name of our rink.
The field house?
The Houston Field House.
Okay. Yeah, so it's the same thing. It's kind of like an old-fashioned term, but I guess the barn is a cool name for a classic arena. I like that.
No, it's a hockey term.
So you were going to go to Arizona State.
Yeah, I was committed there when I was 16, when I was playing for the Junior Ducks, and I decommitted there about a year and a half later, about two and a half years later from committing, but a year and a half into my USHL career. And, I was originally thinking that this is the most far west school, and my parents could come to all the games, on the weekends. It was a brand new Division I ice hockey program, but I don't know, it just kind of, the idea of it wasn't as big when I was 16 to where, I changed my mind, and any thought of changing your mind, going somewhere else, it's a big portion of your hockey career, 4 years NCAA hockey. Yeah. So you want to be at a good place where you want to be and where they want you. And, RPI came to me, and I just, felt like I belonged more there.
Well, when you're committing at the age of 16, you're still pretty young.
Yeah.
You probably don't know exactly what you want. Mm-hmm. You haven't had as much exposure to colleges.
Yeah.
I'll use a basketball example. Your dad went to Mission Bay, you said, right? Mm-hmm. There's a basketball player that graduated from Mission Bay this year. His name's Boogie Ellis. He's this great ball player, and he committed to Duke.
Okay.
And you're thinking, wow, Duke, for basketball. But then he decommitted, and now he went to Memphis.
Is that guy? I've heard of that guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's really good. But I guess the point I'm making is it's not uncommon to decommit.
No, not at all.
And there's situations and changes of mind, you learn more about what you committed to, and maybe something might be a better fit.
Just based on my junior career and the teams I played on, 50%, maybe a little bit less than 50%, but around 50% of the kids I played with ended up not going to the schools that they originally committed to.
Yeah.
And being in the USHL means you're a pretty good hockey player. So whether you commit when you're in the USHL or whether you commit, before, for me it was before, and for a lot of kids it is before, means you are committing at a young age. So,
right.
I had kids that were on my team that were committed to Michigan State that went to Michigan, like the rivals.
Yeah, that's
kids that were committed to Ohio State that went to Wisconsin. It's not uncommon.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely a common thing in all sports. So, but good for the kid that was going to Duke to switch to Memphis. I'm thinking.
Yeah. And Memphis is a great program too. But usually you think of Duke as kind of like at the top of the food chain.
I saw that last year when they had that Zion guy and RJ and that I think it was like the top 3 kids from their high school class all went to Duke. And I'm just thinking to myself, I never would want to go. If I was number 2, I would never go to the place that number 1 was going. I'd go to like their rival school, so I could be number 1.
Right.
Next.
Yes.
It didn't make sense to me, But top end schools, a lot of good kids will go there and have to compete with other good kids when they could just go to the opposite school or a smaller school like I'm doing and just really establish their game and their play. And a lot of time it ends up working out for the player. I mean, you see the guy that's getting drafted 2nd overall this year, what's his name, John Morant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody knew who that guy was, and he's at a small school, and he seems to be doing fine. So
this is exciting for you because now you're gonna go and play D1 collegiate hockey in a high-end program in New England, playing against the other top schools. I mean, you're putting yourself into a position where being drafted in the NHL is a real possibility.
See, the way the NHL draft works is they draft you out of junior hockey, so it's 18 to like 20 or 21. So for me, the draft is almost out of the book for the NHL draft. But the majority of college players that sign and are in the NHL are free agents.
Ah, okay.
Because there is a rule where if you get drafted, you have like 3 years to sign. So I remember there was a guy that was drafted to Nashville, and it came to the day that he needed to sign the papers, and he pulled out and opted for free agency and signed for New York Rangers instead. And it's not uncommon for people to do that. So the way the draft works for NHL players is, a lot of the first rounders usually stay located in their team, and a lot of the kids actually stay located. But free agency, man, for the college players, it ends up working out a lot better, I think.
Well, first of all, you got your degree.
Yeah.
So you got that. And then with its free agency, you have more choice on where you can go.
Yeah.
If you get drafted, you're stuck with that team.
Yeah.
But a free agency is just like getting a regular job, right? It's like you want to work there, they want to hire you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to find the right fit.
Believe me, the draft was a goal of mine. It, didn't work out the way I wanted, but it's all right.
It's still going to work out.
Oh, yeah.
You got a great future in front of you.
Yeah, I'm very excited for what college is going to be like and what the future is going to be like with aspirations to play in the NHL.
So let's talk about NHL. The Stanley Cup playoffs are going right now.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What's your take?
My take
you can give me the halftime report like you did at the soccer game.
Oh, man.
No, but just tell me your opinion. So what do you think about the finals?
These finals have been amazing. Yeah. Only one game has been a blowout. That was Game 3. The other 3 games were unbelievable. And that's just the finals. We flash back all the way to the first round. We had the best team in the NHL. They won like the President's Trophy, the Lightning, Tampa Bay Lightning. They got swept first round, and that's it. No hopes of the Stanley Cup for them.
So they were first round, so they probably played a low seed, and they got that's a big upset.
Huge upset, and you had teams like Washington, who were the ex-champions, get knocked out. You had Pittsburgh Penguins, who've got Crosby, get knocked out. You just had San Jose, who was a really favorite team, get knocked out. The only team that's kind of proven their worth from what their regular season looked like is the Bruins, and they're in the finals right now against the Blues. But the Blues, they were dead last in the league like late November. Dead last.
Wow.
And then they had a coaching change, and the coach came in, and now they're in the Stanley Cup Finals. So to be honest, as much as I got friends in New England and that Boston area, like, I'm pulling for the Blues, man. Like, they're the underdogs here. They got a really good team. They got a rookie goaltender. One of my favorite players, one of the players I like watching, Ryan O'Reilly. Mm-hmm. He's on that team.
No relation, by the way.
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, you never know. No.
Yeah, you never know.
He's a Canadian guy, big centerman, really, really good face-off guy. He scored and got an assist the other night, and He's a good player. So,
well, last weekend I was out with one of my buddies up in San Francisco, and we were out just having a beer, and there was the NHL game was on.
Yeah.
And he was telling me, because he saw Boston in the finals, he says, thank God the Celtics aren't in the NBA finals. Because if they did, and if Boston wins the NHL, I mean, Boston would have won baseball, football, basketball, hockey, all the big four. And he says, we never hear the end of it from the people from Boston.
Never. No. It says, New England, man, they got some great sports teams, and they love their sports up there. So it says a lot about that. But, yeah, no, you'd never hear the end of it.
But it's interesting, though, with the St. Louis, the fact that they changed their coach. And a lot of times people say, yeah, fire the coach. We need to get rid of the coach. And sometimes you think, well, the coach isn't on the ice. The coach isn't making the plays.
Yeah.
And sometimes teams will change a coach and nothing changes. But then sometimes a team will change a coach and everything changes.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's what happened in St. Louis.
Yeah, I haven't really done too much coaching, but I have played under a lot of coaches. But a lot of it is revolved around how you are as a player and how the leadership is on the team. And there is that one time, or those few times, where a coach does come in like middle of the season, because the St. Louis guy came in middle of the season. It wasn't like he got fired last year, the coach, and a new coach came in for the entire season. So I think it's pretty cool how he came in and just changed the whole thing. That says a lot about him, to be honest.
Because they've got to be able to change the whole culture, like in the locker room,
yeah,
and get players to believe and to eliminate some of the negative energy.
Yeah.
And it takes a very special leader to do that.
Oh, yeah. No, there's a lot of good coaches out there, and I think he's definitely one of them.
Right on. That's good. So this is just a great time of the year, It's because it's interesting how the NHL season and the NBA season are roughly parallel, right?
Yeah.
So both finals are going on. They both start roughly around the same time of year. So this is a good time.
No, man. Everybody says it though. There's nothing like playoff hockey. You watch any game, even the first round, and just the fact that there was so many upsets this year. It's made the playoffs this year been a little bit special than some of the playoffs I've watched in the past, and it's just so much fun watching these games and seeing.
Do you know who Jim Rome is?
No.
Jim Rome is a big time sports talk show host.
Okay.
And he got his start here in San Diego. He's national, and he often says the same thing as you did. There is nothing that compares to the intensity and energy of playoff hockey.
Nothing. No.
And it's at a different level than all the other sports. And he also interviews a lot of athletes across all sorts of sports. And he always says interviews with hockey players are just the best because they're just so real.
Yeah.
And they're very easy to relate to, and they're just quality guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of good hockey guys out there.
So just a lot like you, man. So this is good, But yeah, this is a special time of the year, no question. When I grew up in the Bay Area, and this is before the Sharks, and we used to have the San Francisco Seals.
Okay.
And I think they were NHL for a while, and
I don't remember the name of the league they were in. It might have been NHL, but yeah, I know the team you're talking about.
Yeah. So, but I'm happy that San Jose's got a team, and I was talking to my friend in San Francisco. He has in his San Jose office, there's one worker who just is in love with the Sharks.
Really?
And you go into her cubicle in her office, and it's lined with posters and calendars and bobbleheads, and it's just everything Sharks, Yeah. And I love that when people just get so fired up for their team.
It's good, especially when you're getting pumped up for like the West Coast teams, because I'm a huge advocate for West Coast hockey. Born and raised here,
and you don't get respect. Like it's mostly you think of East Coast, right?
Yeah, I like to see the San Diego. The Gulls had a great season.
Yeah.
The Sharks had a great season. The Kings have won cups. The Ducks have won cups. It's good that hockey's getting big here in the West Coast, and there's going to be a surge. There's going to be a lot of really good players that come out of Southern California and even Northern California here in the future, just based on how they've, had the hockey teams here, and they're kind of established now.
Yeah. That makes a big difference, having those big-time programs out here. Because then kids, like yourself, you can go to the arena when you're 5 years old.
That's right.
And you just become mesmerized with the whole thing.
Instead of a cubicle, it's like your room now, you know?
Oh,
you got your room lined with posters and all that.
That was probably you, right?
Oh, yeah. I had so many. Oh, I still have so much hockey stuff.
Who were some of your hockey heroes growing up?
I love Wayne Gretzky. I used to always watch the Ultimate Gretzky videos and all his highlights. But some of the Gulls players, I remember one guy named Billy Tibbetts. He was like a big brute. He had some time in the NHL and was playing for the Gulls, but I ended up actually meeting a couple of Gulls players that said he was in jail for a couple of years, and I was like, whoa, oh man, that guy was my favorite player. But no, it was funny. I'm sure he's a good guy.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, Wayne Gretzky was a big one. I watch a lot of the current players, even though I'm getting of age now where I want to be rivaling those guys. And if you're playing in the NHL, you're going to be suiting up against those guys. But I still look up to the likes of like Crosby, Ovechkin, Stamkos, like I said, O'Reilly. But no, I'd say by far my favorite player would be Gretzky.
So Gretzky was always number 99, right?
That's right, yeah.
So do you have a number that you've embraced?
My favorite number is 19, but the way the teams work now is, it's hard to get the number you had when you were a youth player. So I've had 19 and then switched to 91, which is just 19 backwards. Yeah. Prep school, I had 12. USHL career, I had 12 and 9. And then now my college season's coming up. I got 16, and that's the birthday of my sister and myself.
It's okay. So you can find some special meaning.
Oh, yeah. 16 is a special number to
But 19 is a special number for Poway. Do you know that?
Yeah, Gwynn, right?
Tony Gwynn.
That's right.
So there's all these connections.
Believe me.
I love talking about numbers in sports because it's the number that the player wears is a big part of how you remember that player.
Yeah.
And then you'll always have little connections, of how you relate that number and how you connect to it.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's special. And what is it now? Isn't Crosby, isn't he 66?
No, he's 87. Lemieux was 66.
Okay, that's the one.
That was the previous Penguins stud and one of the best players ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, Crosby's 87. But for me, I hope in the NHL or in pro hockey I can get 19 and create a brand for myself through that number, like Tony Gwynn did. And that would be pretty cool for Poway and for San Diego.
Yeah.
But, even if it's 16 is a special number for myself and my sister,
Right on.
So.
That's cool. Well, man, this has been a great conversation. What we try to do here on this podcast, I tell you, it's about life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and that's what you're doing. You're living your life. You're pursuing your happiness. I think that's fantastic. But the other thing that we like to do is we like to interview, interesting people, especially people from the Poway community. We've interviewed, political candidates on this podcast. We've interviewed business people. We've interviewed coaches, and we've interviewed athletes. So we just love having it. We just love this conversation, and it's just been really great.
Yeah, I'm really happy you had me on. Poway's a great place, and being born here, right in Pomerado Hospital.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Born and raised, man. And getting the opportunity to go K through 8th at St. Michael's and, all the respect I've earned there and all the good treatment they gave me at Poway High School and how they've supported me and how the community supported me with certain news articles and all that. It's good, and I love this city, and I'll be here till the day I die, hopefully.
Your roots will always be here.
Oh yeah,
and then when you're playing in New York for the Rangers or wherever you happen to land in your future, your roots and your home will always be here in Poway.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So Rory, thank you for joining us, and I really enjoyed this conversation, and best of luck to you in your future.
Thank you.
All right.